Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox. Today, we're talking Monday Night Football angles and some TNF picks. Looking ahead to that on Thursday, and also recapping yesterday's games, Week 4 in the NFL. We are going to welcome in our guest, Kenny Bets Big. Kenny, how are we doing?
Katie, well,
Hey.
happy to be back. No, I'm doing good. Coming off a nice little Saturday of college football, NFL betting. So let's keep it rolling.
I hope you didn't fade the Niners this weekend.
No, I told you after week one, I'm truly done fading the Niners. Maybe until Sunday when I take Dallas, but
Yeah.
no, yeah, the Niners they look like an unbeatable force out there. So no, yeah, I haven't been fading them. I actually picked them in my Circa Survivor contest.
That's what I like to hear. Well, you know what? Good, because you didn't mush them. Because last year, when you did actually bet them, those are the games they lost. So maybe you're turning a quarter here for the 49ers mush. Look, two undefeated teams left in the NFL. Interestingly enough, both NFC teams, because I think the AFC seemed like the big juggernaut before the season started, and the NFC looked like the weaker division. Now, that may be still true as a whole, but as it sounds right now, the two best teams in the NFL in terms of their record are the Eagles and the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, 4 touchdowns. I believe he has 13 games now with at least 1 touchdown, past Jerry Rice, arguably one of the greatest 49ers of all time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And you got Brock Purdy, 20 of 21. So one, like you said, this is one of the better teams in the NFL, but you kind of lean towards taking Dallas next week, which I find interesting because I have not been impressed by their offense at all. Their defense is impressive, but against people like the 49ers, I think we could still beat them. But to be fair, I have not bet the 49ers spread one time, even though they have covered pretty much every single week except for that Rams game, depending on where you got the line and that field goal. But the Niners team total, I have bet every single week, and it is cashed every single week. It was up to 29.5 this last weekend. Still got it. I'll be interested to see if books actually put that line over 30 next week. Something tells me not, because it's against the Cowboys. But yeah, on a look ahead, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and and when I say that I like Dallas there, you got to remember I'm not betting on the teams. I'm just betting on the
Yeah,
lines, the
right,
numbers, things like
right.
that. Like last night on Sunday Night Football, nobody wanted to bet the Jets, but betting on the number, it was the right bet. That
Yeah.
was kind of like a hold your nose type bet. So yeah,
Well, especially
Sunday,
Patrick Mahomes at the end. Score.
yeah.
I mean, why are you
Well,
sliding out?
we all know what happened there. We know who made the call. Vegas made the call, and with that, Mahomes slides, and thousands of people's hopes and dreams of cashing the big parlay go right down the drain. So, yeah, I think looking ahead right now, I think I would lean Dallas in that game. But like we were just talking about, the 49ers, they look like the best team in the NFL by a wide margin. Brock Purdy picked up right where he left off last season. Obviously not in the NFC Championship game, Katie, where that one didn't
Yeah.
go your
Well,
guys' way. But
yeah.
in the regular season, he's the best quarterback ever. Apparently, it looks like so.
You know
He's just
what? I mean, look, not to cut you off, but it's just so funny because people are finally starting to come around and think, hey, this Brock Purdy kid is actually pretty good. But there still is the people, they're like, oh, he's not good. He just has Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was not this good in Carolina. And he had what? I mean, I guess he didn't have the greatest quarterbacks in the world, but still, I mean, they have to be together. It's one is not better necessarily than the other. You know what I mean? He has to have a good quarterback to be that good. And of course, Brock Purdy has to have, good weapons in order to be that good. But it doesn't take away from how good Brock Purdy has been.
he's been electric, and your offensive player of the year for CMC is looking really really good right now.
He
So
might be MVP.
yeah, yeah. My buddy, he actually bet him. He put $50 on it, but he actually
Yeah,
took McCaffrey to win MVP. It's looking good.
I love it. Well, I'm worried about the usage of him though. We gotta not run this guy into the ground. But all right, let's look at the other side of that matchup next Sunday night. And the Cowboys. The Cowboys destroyed the Patriots 38-3. I mean, they had to have a big comeback game after getting beaten by the Cardinals. But do you think that this Dallas team is for real?
Well, I see what the producers of the show did there. You know, they let you come in on a high note with the 49ers win, and then they just jab me right where it hurts with,
Uh-huh.
you
Uh-huh.
casually talk about how
Uh-huh.
the Dallas Cowboys just smoked the Patriots. But
Yeah.
um, two things. One, I think Dallas is better than I thought they were going to be coming into the season.
Okay.
I do think that. Dak still has not shown me a ton.
Yep.
I think the Patriots, a lot of self-inflicted, I don't want to say injuries because they weren't injuries, but self-inflicted, damage that with the picks Mac Jones was throwing yesterday and the fumbles and, Dallas was constantly getting short field. So, I think the Pats definitely helped them win that game in that fashion. Uh, yeah,
Hard
yeah,
to say.
I'm
Hard to
just
say.
thinking back to the game yesterday of how bad it went. I bet the
Yeah.
Patriots, and it's giving me PTSD here. But no, I'm not entirely sold on the Cowboys, which is people listening at home are thinking, well, you just said you like the Cowboys versus the 49ers. And again, when you're at this level of betting, I don't care if it's the Jets playing the Chiefs or what the situation is. I just bet the numbers. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I went off on a
I'm
tangent
trying to
there.
see I'm trying to see what the line is. I'm so
Three
curious.
and a
I don't
half.
even know for next week for Niners and Cowboys.
49ers are 3.5 point favorites there.
Ooh, just over home field advantage. Interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those sneaky lines, I
Yeah.
feel like it's a field goal game either way.
Yeah. Well, it just depends if the Dallas Cowboys defense can create turnovers because that's how they're winning games. I mean, the point differential and the turnover differential is just wild. Then they have a chance. If they can't, then I don't think that they can beat the 49ers because I think this offense is just a lot better than theirs is. But another exciting game from the weekend, and probably the game of the weekend, was the Bills and the Dolphins. A lot of people, after the Dolphins coming off that 70-point explosion, thought that how can the Dolphins be an underdog here? When I started looking into it deeply, I started seeing why. And then, of course, we watched how this game went. Do you think people crowned the Dolphins a little bit too early and people were too down on the Bills after week one? Are the Bills the better team here?
I definitely think people crowned the Dolphins too early. But that happens every single season, right?
Yeah.
There's always one team that kind of jumps out ahead of the pack and everyone's like, oh, they're going to win it all. And then come February, they're not the team that won it all. So I definitely think the hype was very inflated on the Dolphins, but I think it was warranted because I do think the
Yep.
Dolphins are one of the better teams in the NFL. I just think that was the right spot for the Dolphins coming off a crazy blowout game
Yeah,
over
you
the
gotta fade
Broncos.
it.
Coming into a division opponent on the road against a team that, the Bills have owned the Dolphins over the last few seasons. So
Yes.
I just think it was kind of a bad mix for the Dolphins. I don't think that's going to be indicative of their season going forward.
No, another team to maybe probably hit the panic button on is the Bengals. They lost to the Titans 27-3. They did get their first win against the Rams, on what was that, Monday Night Football?
Hmm.
I get my Mondays and Thursdays mixed up because Tuesday and Wednesdays are my off days, so Thursdays feel like my Monday.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow got paid, and he has the fewest yards per attempt, 4.8 through 4 games by any quarterback since 1950. I mean, what is going on? There was those memes that were going around about Joe Burrow after getting paid, and it was like a Macaulay Culkin mugshot. Are
I
you
mean,
worried about the Bengals?
well, yeah, I mean, you got to be worried about the Bengals, especially when you see the Ravens look great. The Browns lost yesterday, but the Browns look better than people thought they were going to look this year. So the division as a whole is pretty tough. So
Yeah.
starting, the start that the Bengals have had is not ideal, especially with the injuries, because, I think we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago where that calf injury a lot of times leads to like other injuries, whether it's ankles or Achilles
ACL?
injuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or not
ACL. Yeah.
ACL,
So
Achilles. Sorry, Achilles. That's what I meant. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So when you have like we saw it with Rodgers this year, right? Rodgers hurt his calf. They kind of rushed him back, tears his Achilles, unfortunately. So I think the Bengals have kind of done themselves a disservice. I think they should have rested him probably one of these, past couple weeks, just get him 100% healthy and then put him back out there. Especially when you look at the Bengals offensive line has been their, kind of Achilles heel,
Ah,
yeah,
ba-doom-tsh.
so to speak. They haven't done a great job protecting Joe Burrow. So I wasn't high on the Bengals coming into this year, so I'm not surprised by it.
I was pretty high on the Bengals coming into this year. I actually took a bet of them. I think it was 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. Womp, womp, womp. That's not happening this year. I know they overcame a 0-2 deficit last year to get far, but something is wrong. And I don't know if you saw Jamar Chase after the game. You know, he said, "I'm always effing open." And then he apologized for swearing, which I couldn't tell. Was that a dig at Joe Burrow? Was that a dig at the O-line? Obviously, the O-line, or maybe that they should be resting him to get healthy. Like, what did you think of his comments after the game?
I like seeing that stuff.
Yeah,
Because we live in a world now where it's kind of weird. We want to see these guys caring and the passion from them, but then when they show it, it's, oh, you shouldn't be saying these things and you're a bad teammate and this and
true.
that. I'm sure Joe Burrow knows that there was no digs taken at him, right? These guys
Yeah,
are best of friends off the field. They went to
yeah,
college together. They play in the NFL together. They're making a lot of money together.
right.
So I don't think there was any like hidden innuendos taken really at Joe Burrow. I just think it's Jamar Chase saying, "Hey, dude, I'm one of the best players in the game right now. Just throw me the ball and let's make some happen."
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we got to talk about this Jets and Chief game. So interesting. So it seems like based on what you said that you were on the Jets. I had actually tweeted out last night. I had a feeling. I was like, I don't know. I think that Aaron Rodgers being there will give a boost to Zach Wilson. And people made fun of me and were like, oh my God, he's the worst player. But it did. It gave him a little boost. We saw some confidence behind Zach Wilson. Now, of course, the fumble there that turned the whole game around. But watching his team kind of rally around him in the end and pick him back up, I think that Zach Wilson can be serviceable if he actually believes in himself and wants to be there. And I do think that having a leader like Aaron Rodgers come back into the facility this week and say, stop pointing fingers and really kind of build this team back up, it gave them confidence. And that was probably one of the worst games that we've seen Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't the worst Chiefs game. The worst Chiefs game was week 1 when the receivers dropped all those passes, but Mahomes still did all he can do. Mahomes, beyond the end of the game when he kind of saved it there, with his legs, basically, that was not his best game. I think it was one of his worst games.
Yeah, it was. I mean, did you see the stat they put out this morning where
No,
in the first time in Patrick Mahomes' college and NFL career where the opposing quarterback has had more passing yards, more, I guess, touchdowns, less
let's go. And
interceptions, whatever it was. It's the first time he's been outdueled by an opposing quarterback. And
it was Zach
of course,
Wilson.
yeah, of course it's Zach Wilson. So,
Hilarious.
but I'm not going to do what you're doing where you're getting caught being prisoner of the moment. I'm not going, and I did that the first game Zach Wilson played this year because, after seeing they won week 1 versus Buffalo, I was like, oh, he'll look good this year. No, Zach Wilson is terrible. And going forward, I'm not going to put my money on it. I didn't do it yesterday, of course.
I didn't either.
Yeah, it's
First of all, I'm not, let me just clarify. I'm not betting him or
yeah.
whatever. I just thought that there may be a little bit of a spark, and there was. And I do think that he can be serviceable, not good, serviceable.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Aaron Rodgers thing. Love seeing him there, especially when these guys are getting paid millions of dollars. Like, dude, just go hang out at the game. Like, you're getting paid a ton of money. But yeah, no, definitely. I didn't actually bet the Jets yesterday. It was one of those games where I know the Jets are the right bet, but I couldn't.
But you can't do it.
Yeah, there was no way I could put my money or tell someone else to put their money
No,
on Zach Wilson and the
no.
Jets. And down 17-0 in the first quarter, I'm sitting home thinking like, thank God I didn't bet this
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. It was so funny. I saw people tweeting out like, "Oh, the Jets should, or the Chiefs should just pull their starters after up 17." I'm like, really? As the way that that went. One thing I want to discuss though, because let's talk about Taylor Swift. We have to talk about Taylor Swift. First game against the Bears, she comes. It's kind of a surprise. She's just in a box by herself with Mama Kelsey, and it's this crazy outpouring of scoring. Of course, it is against the Bears. This time around, she comes with a very serious crew of people. You're
Oh
talking
yeah.
Blake Lively. You're talking Sansa Stark. I can't remember what the actress's name is. You're talking Ryan Reynolds.
Hugh Jackman was there.
Wolverine. Yeah, Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman. And then like a bunch of other stars too. Like there was a lot of firepower in that box. I actually think, and look, I am a very huge fan of Kelsey and Taylor together. I think it's adorable. I think it's great. I think she might have done a little bit too much and actually become a distraction in this particular game, because you look at how Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs played. It's not her fault. I think go to the games, sit at the family box or whatever. When you bring all of those people in and the game becomes more about her being there, and it's, again, I'm not blaming her for this at all. I don't think she did anything wrong, but I think looking back, I don't know if she'll come to games like that again.
What with the A
With the
plus?
huge entourage
Yeah.
of people and the stars and that, because it's a little bit too much, and because you never want to be a distraction.
No.
You never want to be a distraction. And look, Kelsey had a horrible game. He had a couple catches in the first quarter, and then never again. And then as soon as he got the ball, man, there was nowhere for him to go. I feel like all of America was on him to have an anytime touchdown. So I actually think she made a mistake in the sense of she just brought too much attention to that game. And I don't blame her for it, but I think she will have learned. And I think just go sit with the mom, enjoy yourself, whatever. But when you bring like all of Hollywood into a box, it's just not going to work out.
No, yeah, and it's funny, looking back at the Chiefs, short history here. It's not even the opposing team on the field that slows them down. It's Taylor Swift, it's Brittany Mahomes, it's Jackson Mahomes. Those are the things that really slow the Chiefs down, because you're right, the outside noise, all the distractions, and Taylor Swift, which I'm a sports fan, right? Like I couldn't tell you 3 Taylor Swift songs, but I saw a lot of debates last week on social media about who's the bigger celebrity, Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift. That's not even a discussion. Like,
Taylor.
what?
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's a nobody to the whole world.
A literal nobody. And the fact that he has got like over 1 million, or like, I don't know, he has like 3 point, you know what? Let's check what his follower is right now. It was 3.6 last night. And the thing is, he wasn't even at 3 million. He wasn't even at 3 million. Then all of a sudden he starts hanging out with her. And okay, let's see. Kelsey, he gets 3.6. I wouldn't be, he's already at 3.7. I mean, he's going to have 1 million followers out of this in just like a week.
Do you think it's a real relationship?
Yes.
You do. So you think it's legit?
Well, she doesn't have any reason to lie. Do you know what I mean? Like, she doesn't need anything out of this. It's not making her more famous or anything like that. And I think her showing up at games is really putting herself out there, which I feel like celebrities don't want to do that until they know it's actually something like real, because you open yourself up to a lot of backlash. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negative stories about how she was a distraction. And, anytime Patrick Mahomes doesn't play well, what's the thing that was different? Taylor Swift brought all of her entourage there. And look, I know that the Chiefs have played at Super Bowls where there's a ton of celebrities, but it's not exactly the same thing. It's like everybody was there just to see them. And it was supposed to be against a bad team and whatever. But I think that look, Taylor, come to the games. I love what you're doing, and getting more women involved and getting people excited to be there. But I think don't become bigger than the game. I think that is just a rookie mistake to dating a football player.
I think that's already happening when you see people calling it the Taylor Swift game. Like, it's just nuts.
Yeah. Well, did you see her fans too? There was a picture of a girl that had a makeshift Travis Kelce jersey, and she spelled it like Kelsey, Kelsey. And it's like, all right, we got to get the Swifties on board with the Kelce merch here. But anyways, all right, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk Monday Night Football. Stick around. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. Welcome back to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Here with my guy, Kenny Betts. Big. We were both on the Jets last night, but we didn't bet big on it or at all. So let's move on to Monday Night Football. Seahawks and Giants. I don't know why MetLife is having these back-to-back games and back-to-back primetime games. It didn't work out too well the last time. You got the turf that nobody likes, and then you're sitting here and you're doing it again and having some bad and maybe turf that hasn't been, properly fixed up from the night before. So that irritates me a little bit here. But if we look at the lines, Seahawks -2. Now this line flipped. It was the look ahead lines were the Giants, I believe, -1.5. Now, with the way the Giants have played and with the way the Seahawks have played, we've seen a flip here. Seahawks -2, -135 on the money line. Total is 47. One, what do you think about back-to-back games at MetLife Stadium with this turf? And then two, what do you like?
I agree with you. I, being from New Jersey, I don't remember this many times where they've kind of done this. Usually, one is on the road, one's home, and they kind of just
Yeah,
alternate week to week. But yeah, it's a terrible idea, especially after week one. I mean, I guess after the Rodgers injury, it's not like they can say, "Oh, let's change the schedule
too
all
early to
around."
flex. Yeah.
So you want to think going forward, like future seasons, they kind of won't do that, or just put grass there. But yeah, NFL making all this money, you think they would have done a little better planning, but
Yeah.
who am I to complain? They're just putting the product out there. So tonight, I like the Giants plus 2.5. This line has gotten.
Wild.
What'd you say?
Wild.
Yeah, what was it? Giants -1 last week. It opened at.
Yeah. I think it opened at 1.5, actually.
Yeah, so
So
when if you want to bet the Seahawks, if you're looking at this game and you like the Seahawks, like you kind of missed the boat on the line here.
yeah.
The one thing that does scare me, obviously, no Saquon still, and Daniel Jones historically has struggled at MetLife Stadium.
And on prime time.
Yeah, and on prime time. But this is still just one of those spots. Like you look at the injury report for the Seahawks, they're missing two of their cornerbacks. They're missing a couple of their O linemen.
I think they're getting a couple of their O linemen back. I read something. There was some positive stuff on their injury report, but not confirmed.
Okay, yeah, I was looking right before we hopped on. It still didn't have it out there, but they
Yeah.
were questionable or doubtful. So,
Yep. Yep.
obviously, another thing you got to keep an eye on. So, this is one of those games where I'm gonna you wait until closer to kickoff to see kind of what's happening. But
Yeah.
as of now, where it stands, I like the Giants plus 2.5.
Yeah.
Just seeing the way that the lines moved, I think everyone's going to be on the Seahawks there, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants come out and get, because you look at their schedule so far. They've played the Cowboys and the 49ers, which we were just talking about are some of the best teams in the NFL. So I think this is like a good buy low spot on the Giants.
Well, and the Cardinals, I think, are a better team than anyone thought that they were going to be. I don't know how many wins the Cardinals are actually going to get, but this is a team that's going to make it hard on you. And they certainly, I think, Josh Dobbs is doing, Dobbs, excuse me, is doing an amazing job. And Gannon, nobody thought that he was all that motivating, but he's coaching this team pretty well. I see where you're going with taking the points with the Giants, and this one was hard for me when I was looking at it. First, I was like, I'll take Seattle money line, and then I started looking at it. I'm actually going to take Seattle in the first half. They're just favored by 0.5 point, and it's at even money, which I like. I haven't seen anything from this Giants offense that makes me think that I want to back them in this spot. Daniel Jones has just not looked very good through 3 weeks, and he is a primetime dud, like you said, 1-11. Career. It's the worst of any quarterback since the merger with a minimum of 10 starts. But I do think this is a desperate Giants team. They absolutely need a win here. And so that's what kind of makes me a little bit nervous. The Seahawks have never lost at MetLife Stadium, which is interesting. They're 5-0 all time, including the playoffs. They actually hold the best winning percentage on Monday nights. But again, I'm worried about how desperate this team is. We saw how desperate the Bengals were and how they beat the Rams, even though the Rams, I think, were a better team. But when I was looking at the point differential in the very first half, the G-Men actually have the worst point differential in the first 3 games since 1991. It's -57. Now, a lot of this has to do with the first game against the Cowboys when, of course, they had all of those crazy turnovers. But they're also the first team to go without a first half touchdown through 3 games since 2003 and 2004. Seattle scored at least 1 touchdown in the first 3 games within the first half. So I'm at even money to say that Seattle is going to be, 0.5 point ahead. That's the bet I'm going to take here.
I mean, how do you not like that with you said one, so since 2000, 2003, they're the worst first half team in the NFL?
-57. They're at -57.
That's pretty bad because even with the Cowboys game, like against the Cardinals, they were getting throttled in the first half. So yeah, it's just.
I could see the Giants coming with a little backdoor cover here. They kind of heat up a little bit in that second half. You look at their comeback win against the Cardinals, but I think Seattle comes out hot. They drive down, they score, and I think it's going to be a hard time for the Giants to get going. So yeah, I just like the value here at even money, and then I kind of stay off the full game. Interesting. We both have interception props for our next best, or actually, worst. You have Geno Smith to have an interception. Why?
It's just one of those gut feelings, I saw I saw you had the Danny Dimes prop to throw a pick, and I was like, you know what? Let me steal a little Katie's thunder here, and it's one of those games where kind of like last night, right? Where I'm sure our conversations were very similar, where I'm texting my buddy like, hey, the Jets are covering this game. I just don't know how they're going to do it, but it's going to happen. And of course, Mahomes throws a couple picks. I just think it's going to be one of those games, a sloppy
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if both quarterbacks throw a pick here. The Seahawks offense has looked pretty good the first few weeks into the season, but for the Giants to stay in this game, the defense is going to have to make some plays.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I kind of think that they're going to have a more like run heavy approach to it, but I'll get into that in a little bit. But look, Danny Dimes. He only had 5 interceptions all last season. Homeboy has had 4 within 3 weeks. He has had at least 1 interception in every single game played, and he's only had 2 touchdown passes. So we're looking at double the amount of interceptions than touchdowns so far. And I don't care who you are, that stuff gets in your head and actually causes you to make more mistakes than you normally would. He has been held to under 150 passing yards in 2 out of 3 games. But the Seahawks have allowed actually a lot of passing yards, 300 to each of their first 3 opponents. Now, of course, that's Matt Stafford and Jared Goff and Eddie Dalton. Those are much more pass-heavy quarterbacks. But I do think that Danny Dimes is going to be throwing the ball a lot more in this game, thinking that he can get some yardage on the Seahawks, which just opens him up to more mistakes. And until they stop giving Danny Dimes to throw an interception and plus money, I'm just going to keep taking it.
You're like the evil person, just between Danny Dimes now,
Matt
Stafford.
Well, it's like, Matt Stafford, Danny Dimes, Jared Goff. I have my go-tos, people. I have my go-tos, and this is one of them. And I do. Haters are going to hate. Haters are definitely going to hate. What's another prop or bet that you
So
like?
we're going to go a 6-point teaser because everyone loves teasers. How do you not?
Yeah.
You're going to tease the Giants up to plus 8.5. On Caesars, that is. Caesars, by the way, for the Giants game, they have the best line, plus 2.5 for the G-men. So you're going to tease the Giants to plus 8.5, and then we're going to tease the total down to over 41. So it's Giants plus 8.5, over 41 points scored. That's minus 127.
I like it. Yeah, and then you don't have to mess with like the full game. I know you are the Giants plus the 2.5, but 8.5, they should definitely be able to keep it within that. Yeah. And what do you, the over or the under 41.5?
Over 41.
Over 41.5. Yeah. The Seahawks can score.
Yeah, initially I was thinking I liked the under 53, teasing the total up to 53 and taking the under. But then you look at, the Seahawks offense is they can put up points. The missing the corners and the secondary hopefully will allow the Giants to be able to move the ball a little more effectively than they have been in the previous weeks. So I feel better with the over 41 there, maybe a 24-21 type game.
Yeah. God, if the Giants get 21 points or 24 points rather, that would be a lot for them. This is my risky bet of the day. And I had a risky bet earlier this season when I faded Amon-Ra St. Brown under his receiving yards, and everyone thought I was crazy, but guess what? I ended up cashing. I'm taking Geno Smith under 33.5 pass attempts. And yes, this seems like extremely counterintuitive when you look at the numbers. He's gone over this in 3 or 4 games. Seattle, of course, very pass heavy offense. But again, look at who they've played. They played against Matt Stafford. They played against Jared Goff. They played against Andy Dalton. These are all offenses and quarterbacks that throw a lot and can score in a hurry. So Seattle's going to have a heavy pass game to keep up with these offenses, and we certainly saw that. The Giants' defense has also been awful. By the numbers, they're awful, but if you watch that last Thursday night game against the 49ers, they made it really hard on Purdy, not just up front and blitzing him, to oblivion almost, but the secondary was really locked in. He didn't have a lot of targets to throw to. Again, very desperate Giants team. I do think that their defense is going to be locked in tonight. And the Giants offense has just been kind of abysmal. So I could see Seattle getting up to a couple quick scores. Hello, first half covering. And then they just start running the ball more. And Kenneth Walker III has been money for Seattle. He has scored 100% of Seattle's rushing touchdowns, 50% of their offensive scores just in general. He has the second most rushing touchdowns in the NFL at 4. And the New York run defense has struggled. They've given up 4 rushing touchdowns to running backs this season. They've had at least 1 rushing touchdown touchdown in every game. So I like Kenneth Walker the third to have a touchdown. All right, maybe even the first touchdown. But I do think that it's going to be a little bit more of a run heavy script for Pistol Pete over there. So Geno Smith under 33.5. Again, kind of risky.
But you know what they say, you got to risk it to get the biscuits. So I'm feeling good about that.
Money don't make no money.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Thursday. And anything else you like on this game? Not one of our official picks. Any other leans? Any other thoughts?
So I haven't locked anything in. I was looking at like some receiving props, maybe some guy like, I was looking maybe Darren Waller to lead the game in receiving yards. Just,
yes.
Game script. If the Seahawks
yes.
do go up, they'll probably abandon the pass a little like you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe Danny Dimes gets some garbage action, easy dump downs to Waller. So those are some things I was thinking about, but I haven't locked anything in yet.
Well, and I like Darren Waller a lot in this game too, because you look at the Giants, they are vulnerable. Excuse me, the Seahawks are a little bit vulnerable to tight ends, and they have been for a few years now. And Waller, they got to figure out a way to get Waller going. He has not had his breakout game. I believe his yards are at like 47.5. I'm leaning towards the over in that one. But all right, let's move on to Thursday Night Football. Blah, blah. It's the Bears and the Washington Commanders -6.5. The Bears got a little frisky against the Broncos in the first half. Cole Kmet, hello, tight end, couple touchdowns there. I had him. He's on my fantasy team, but of course I didn't play him, which I didn't need to because I got Christian McCaffrey and I had Josh Allen. So hello, winner last weekend. But it was sick. It was just disgusting how many. And my opponent was just. I was like, yeah, better luck next time, bro. Better luck next time.
Nothing better than that, right? When everything just goes your way, and it always happens though that your opponent doesn't have a good week, so you kind of just have a big week when you don't really need it.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, it was between Christian McCaffrey and Josh Allen, it was just sick the amount of numbers, points that were being scored. But that's neither here nor there. I can't trust this. I can't trust anything about the Bears. I can't trust the offense, and I can't trust the defense. The Commanders, Sam Howell, actually been pretty frisky here. They almost beat the Eagles last week. It just Riverboat Ron. And I will say, Stuckey, friend of the show, was on last week. He has renamed Riverboat Ron to Paddleboat Ron for not going for 2 there. And I think that should actually be his name now, because that is some bullshit not to go for 2, to have it go into overtime with a team like the Eagles. Of course, the Eagles are going to beat you in overtime, Paddleboat Ron. Go for 2. But anyways, I don't trust either of these teams. But if I had to make something, give me the Commanders -6.5 because the Bears can't get anything done.
Yeah, this is an ugly game. This is like the typical primetime game we're used to seeing from the NFL, not the
on the Thursday nights for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just the worst game possible that they could have drawn up for us, that were somehow millions of people are going to be sitting home glued to the TV. So terrible game. And I think it'll be just as boring to watch. So I'm going to go under 44.5 points. They set these, they set these numbers low for a reason. I think both offenses are not super ideal. They're not elite. And I think the defenses will show up on primetime short week. 2 young quarterbacks, not as much time.
They don't have a defense, but yeah, the Commanders defense, I believe, will show up. I'm not sure that the Bears have a defense. Well, I'm just not sure they have a defense. I don't know. I think what have we seen?
The Bears fans right now, they're probably very happy with how the season is going, because as it stands right now, they have the 1st and 2nd pick in next year's draft. So, they're salivating at the mouth thinking they're getting Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. So we'll see if it ends that way.
So, well, one, I'm the idiot that was like, I believe in the Bears this year. I think the Bears are actually going to be good. Wrong, Mox, wrong. Bears are bad. Bears are very, very bad. So you talk about Caleb Williams, who undoubtedly, he could go for a second Heisman, and he's certainly the best prospect, the best quarterback, even prospect coming out of the draft, except for that little Brock Bowers, little big man Brock Bowers. And there's some people over there in Colorado. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. My brain's going a million different places. You think that they would actually give up on Fields
for Caleb Williams? I mean, Katie, I'm going to be honest. If let's say if I was a team and I had Tom Brady at the end of his career, and there was a chance to get Caleb Williams, I'm taking Caleb Williams. He has to be one of the best quarterback prospects coming out of college.
This is Fields' 3rd season. You're only going to give him,
I've seen enough. And I loved Justin Fields at Ohio State. I was big on the Bears last year. Kenny, bad. Bears, bad.
Okay, you
And
passed it off to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Justin Fields, I don't know if it's the team, the coaching, I don't know what it is, but it's just
He's
not working for him.
talented.
He,
Yeah.
he is, but at the same time, like if he was talented, they would be better in winning games.
He needs better coaching. He needs better coaching. He needs a better O-line. He needs a better defense. He needs better everything.
But there's probably like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that I would not take over Caleb Williams right now. Like I would not take Williams over Mahomes, over Burrow,
Purdy.
Herbert, like those
Purdy.
guys.
Purdy.
I think I might take Caleb Williams over Justin Herbert.
Well, but I mean, you got to think about what these teams, have. They have no reason to get him. Well, yeah, that's interesting. Well, now that Matt Stafford is playing so well, I used to think that maybe the Rams were going to try to tank to get him to keep it all in LA, but I don't know. That little Puka Nacua is also pretty amazing.
Yeah, the theory that I had of Rams tanking for Caleb is not looking too hot. So.
Well, because I think Matt Stafford's playing. I mean, I know Matt Stafford is a good quarterback, but the Rams are playing better than I think anybody thought that they were going to, because they don't have any, especially when Cooper Kupp went down, and then you got Puka Nacua. You finally got a touchdown. I mean, he's been breaking records left and right, and he finally gets a touchdown. Well, one question. I feel like I'm all over the place. It's a Monday. Hello, people. They don't sleep very much, but I saw this because you're a big Stafford guy, right? Aren't you a big Stafford guy?
I like Stafford. He won me a lot of money in that Super Bowl.
Okay. All right. So Puka Nacua is currently outpacing the 2 best receiving yard seasons in NFL history through 4 games. He's got 501 receiving yards. Cooper Kupp had 431 receiving yards. Calvin Johnson, 423. What do all 3 of those receivers have in common?
Matt Stafford, baby.
Matt Stafford, baby. Yeah, exactly. And so it's hard to argue how good of a quarterback Matt Stafford is when you look at the 3 of the top ever, receiving yards through 2 games all happened with him.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford definitely does not get the credit he deserves. Like, even just look at the Super Bowl win that he had, right? Like that no-look pass that ultimately won them the game.
Yeah.
Like, there's only a handful of guys that can probably do that in the NFL. So, Matt Stafford's wildly disrespected, but I think it's just a product of the times he's played in, right? Like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew
When he played for the
Brees.
Lions for so long.
That too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and I love to fade Matt Stafford at any chance that I get, but numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. All right, Kenny, thank you so much for your time today and for joining the show. Let people know where to find you. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, Kenny Bets Big on social. X is what they're calling it, right? X. Yeah, X, Instagram, and right here on Moxie Bets.
Yeah, and they can sign up for your plays, right?
Yeah. Well, that you could do on my website, kennybetsbig.com. You can go there, sign up, win some money,
Win some money because he bets big.
That's always a weird thing for me. I never there's people I never like plugging myself, I'm not one of those guys where they're out here selling, trying to really sell themselves. I don't listen. You guys want to get the picks, you're more than welcome to. If not, it's all right. We're going to win money regardless, either way.
Yeah, right here on Moxie Bets. All right, thank you so much, Kenny. As always, this has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Follow us on social at Moxie Bets. Good luck with your plays, and we'll see you Thursday.